Every move say less. Hear that hush now, that's the room go still. One breath, one spark, then we make our own way. No ring, no rules, you already know the code. Stepping clean, leave louder. No ring, no rules, we make our own way. No ring, no rules, legend starts today. No ring, no rules, watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules, we don't back down. Lights off, name on, pressure in the room. Cold eyes, sharp grin, big talk, sealed doom. We came built for it, heavy in the chest. Every line hits hard, every move say less. Hear that hush now, that's the room go still. One breath, one spark, then we break the seal. No ring, no rules, we make our own way. Legend starts today. No ring, no rules, watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules, we don't back down. No script, only nerve and skill. No leash, no chain, only what is real. From the first word out to the final roar. If you want a war, we give you more. No ring, no rules, we make our own way. No ring, no rules, legend starts today. No ring, no rules, watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules, we don't back down.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am your host, the Violent Tick CJ Mondo, for this No Rings, No Rules podcast. And it's going to be an epic show tonight, guys. So I hope you guys, share this link out, as we talk about TKO's issues that I feel like that's going to lead to a WCW shutdown. Now, I brought somebody in here today that he made one of good values, one of the good points that I'm going to bring up during this thing, and it feels right to bring him in this podcast. And the man I'm going to bring in is none other than one of my good friends, DJ Chaotic, the man that's pretty much been like a brother to me since day one. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and also people that are haters, welcome this man in. DJ Chaotic, welcome to the No Rings, No Rules podcast.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? What up, ladies and gentlemen? Hope y'all all having a good night and having y'all snacks and everything. This is about to be a good ride.
I mean, you absolutely said it. We get in the discussion of the No Rings, No Rules. And, the topics that we're going to include, there's more. There's, 15 topics that we're going to talk about. The end of WWE. 15 reasons TKO will kill WWE. Writing the book on shutting down WWE. TKO's iron grip on the business and also the failed management. And 10 more to shut down like WCW. So, we're going to talk about those topics. I kind of feel that it's right to bring DJ in. This is one of those hard topics here on No Rings, No Rule podcast that I kind of feel like that, as a wrestling fan myself, if we don't get a McMahon back in office, I'm afraid there's not going to be no WWE. There's not going to be no WrestleMania. There's not going to be the things that we love to watch, because there's a power-hungry nemesis, or should I say a tyrant, that is leeching off of the business that we love, known as WWE, and pulling cards that they should have never pulled, especially WrestleMania. To be honest, I don't want to get in that topic. We'll get in that topic later, but it is what it is. First topic, we're going to get into the end of WWE. I mean, that's a good question. Is this the end of WWE, knowing that they partnership with TKO? I mean, that was a bad business investment. We saw that with WrestleMania. We saw that, with the Liv Morgan and Stephanie Valkyrie match, 7-minute match for the women's title. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I can understand if, they wasn't good workers, what they call in the business good workers, or they didn't know how to work, but if they didn't know how to work, there's two questions you got to ask yourself. Why are you putting titles on people that can't work? And another thing that I want to get on topic about, you got a man that is holding the office seats right now that is good creative, and no disrespect, Triple H, when I say this, I'm just saying it as in general. You're letting TKO pull you like a dog on a chain and telling you to go there or go there or go there, when you should be making decisions on the main event guys, and especially the WrestleMania card that was screwed up this year. And to me, watching WWE now, I have to ask this question, DJ, and I'll let you, answer it. The fans, if you guys are watching, you guys got more leadway and pull. If you think this is the end of WWE, put in the comments, or even, the comments after the show. Do you guys really think that, what we seeing is the downfall, just like we saw with WCW? To me, I think it's maybe, because the way that TKO was pulling their weight. And I'll let DJ get on to his opinion about that. So, DJ, first topic we're going to talk about here, is this the end of WWE as we know it?
Like, here's the thing that I have to solely say first. No point intended to WWE as a whole or Triple H in general, but this is where I draw the conclusion to say to myself this. Let's take you down the road of mishaps that ultimately makes TKO feel like they're going down the road of a WCW and not caring about everything in general. For one, we could start at the interest of long-term booking. If you ever notice the pattern of how these matches have been put together, there is no long-term booking in these matches at all, leading to confusion, disappointment, wrestlers being pissed off, the following, how it goes from there. Because if there is no long-term booking for your matches, you have no rich history for how the business is supposed to be ran. And in that case, you got to ultimately realize who is the one pulling the strings, making all this happen. I mean, I understand Triple H is supposed to be the one doing this, but in the long-term thick of things, why is TKO butting their heads into Triple H's storylines if they don't feel it's going to be beneficial for the hardcore wrestling fan to enjoy? I mean, there are so many instances that I'll say that could lead to the downfall of this. Disappointment of non-used wrestlers being another prime example. I mean, let's be real. how many wrestlers you feel nowadays that fans have been pushing TKO and WWE to utilize, and yet they have not utilized them whatsoever? Wondering why it caused to the incident that happened on our first episode that we talked about, the budget cut releases. Now, make no mistake about it. You don't have wrestling if you cannot entertain your hardcore wrestling fan base. You can't entertain your wrestling fan base if you're not willing to put a price tag to let your fan base come in and generally see the product. And this is why we have the confusion we have now. TKO is ultimately ruining WWE and is sabotaging a lot of shit that should be documented and displayed by the fan base, or already has been displayed by the fan base, and many podcasts have been talking about it. So, in general, what are we willing to do as wrestling fans to change this narrative? Are we going to ultimately not spend our money with TKO, not get merchandise, not get the next wrestling game whatsoever? I mean, this is some things that we have to take into consideration in order to get us our product back the way we need to get it back. And I'm just speaking facts.
Now, we're going back to... We get back on the 15 reasons TKO will kill WWE. But I'm going to get back on the writing the book on shutting down WWE, TKO's iron grip on the business, and the failed WWE management. I'm going to hit those three topics right off the bat before I get on to the fifth one. And to me, you know, the writing the book on shutting down WWE, I mean, it's already been sealed and delivered when they sold the company to TKO. We saw, you know, ticket prices changed outrageously. Like, I mean, I understand they want to make money. You know, don't get me wrong. This is a, you know, hard economy to where you have to survive. I understand that. But at the same time, you know, you got to think about these lower class people that's, you know, made the company what it is today. If it hadn't been for these lower class people, they wouldn't have the shot that they had now. It's pretty much a do or die segment where they don't have much rulings in the book. And what I mean by much rulings is they don't have many ways of doing things. So what I mean by that is they don't have many creative ideals and a lot of talent, you know, is speaking up on this. You know, you take a look at, you know, Selena Vega. She was pretty pissed off that she got released. You know, the Sean Ross dude, the dude that does the podcast that tells us who got released. I mean, you need to give people their privacy, especially, you know, it's like I said, you know, you got to think of it like this. You know, what if you lost your job and then some podcaster, somebody said that, oh, he got released? Dude, that is a human being, first of all. Okay, I get that you want to do the podcast thing. I get that. You know, we all, you know, want to talk about, you know, the passion we serve for pro wrestling. But behind that character, behind that development is a human being that's getting paid money to put their bodies on the line to entertain you and your kids. And you want to sit there and just say, oh, WWE releases. Okay, first of all, like, I give you props. You did it respectfully, but at the same time, you should have let Selena Vega done her thing, is what I'm trying to say.
And it's like, also, speaking of that whole incident, I saw the little video where he did his little bit and everything. So, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, he was like, at the end of the day, he is a podcaster. I get that. But also in the same token, I know you're doing your job. But in that same token, don't bring the news out before the wrestler can make her statement to her fans and let that be the reasoning behind it before you break it. Like podcasters some podcasters be so quick to jump and get the news to the fan base before the wrestler can make his or her assumption and thank the fan base for what they've done for them. Like, have a little common courtesy and respect. Is all that matters, CJ.
Getting back on the topic, the 15 reasons. Before I get on that topic with 15 reasons, I want to try to stay on track with the iron grip on the business that TKO has, and you can respect this too. TKO, the people that runs TKO, they don't know nothing about the wrestling industry. They've never been in the wrestling ring. They've never been training as a wrestler. So how can you be over something that you have no what's the word I'm looking for here? You have no
authority over.
Not really authority, but you don't have no clue of what you're doing. So in other words, that'd be like me. That'd be like me working as a promoter in, let's say if I done like MMA and I've never been trained in MMA. How you going to be a promoter in MMA if you've never trained in MMA? Like, help it make sense.
Exactly.
So here's the thing that I'm getting at. Like, I understand that, you got these people that, wants to make big money and these people that literally likes to drive the force. And it shows 100% that when it comes down to, these big money people that wants to buy everything because they're greedy and they want to, make the poor people, choke out. It really don't make sense because when you have an iron grip on the business, especially let's go for the WWE management that failed at this year's WrestleMania. I mean, there's a lot of segments that they could have done better on. The Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi, I think they could have done better on. You have
like the major ones, you just hit on one of them. Liv and Stephanie Blackcore, and you could have gave more time to Becky and AJ.
Well, here's why, and don't get me wrong, DJ. I know you got your side of opinions on this, and we both can disagree or agree and, come to agreement on something. But Becky Lynch is already a two-time Intercontinental Champion. Why drop the belt to her, making AJ Lee lose the belt? Now, I understand that AJ Lee is pregnant, okay? I understand. Why couldn't you just let AJ Lee not lose the title and be like everybody else that's got injured? Let her have the title, and then later down the road, maybe at, year from now, or I think it's 9 months is when a woman can have a baby, somewhere around 9 months. So 9 months from now, almost close to, I think, the Rumble, you could have Becky Lynch and AJ Lee fight for the title. But instead, you already put the title on her and had her basically lose the title in a low-impact match. Like, I just don't get it, WWE. Why would you put the belt on Becky? Why would you literally go that route and do some of the stupidest moves that you're making? Not only that, a match that really got under my grinds. You made Brock Lesnar look like he didn't know jack shit. And you wonder why Brock Lesnar retired at WrestleMania and said pretty much, and quote, fuck WWE.
Mm-hmm. It's like, as soon as I seen that man throw up the X sign to Paul Heyman, that was the cue right there. I knew he was retiring. Like, even when I saw him take off the gloves, I could have said, is he doing the retirement right here, right now? Like, really? Like, that was just mind-boggling to me.
What really got under my gears is this. Like, don't get me wrong on this, DJ. You know, Brock is a box office ticket, okay? Like, that dude has done, you know, been a WWE champion. He's went to UFC and conquered UFC, being the heavyweight champion. Why would you literally let Brock Lesnar walk out the door when you know good and well there ain't nobody on that roster that's going to be the box office ticket? Seth Rollins ain't going to be the box office ticket. I mean, you just killed one of your best people that's going to bring you money, and you don't even realize what the fuck you done. Like, I'm just going to be plain blunt honest on this.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get on.
It's kind of obvious.
Now we get on the topic, DJ, and I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll let you speak. What do you think about the TKO's iron grip on the business and the failed WWE management that you saw that happened? And I'm going to pass the mic to you respectfully for your thoughts on this.
See, here's where I've seen a lot of downhill spirals with this whole narrative that we have here. For one, lack of women's talent not being utilized efficiently. I mean, don't get me wrong here. I love your Io Skies, your Rhea Ripley's, your Bianca Belairs, the whole kit and caboodle, okay? But when you're giving women's matches squash 5-minute, 4-minute, 3-minute opportunity matches, what are you really doing to improve and give the women's division long-term booking? I mean, I understand the men's division, the tag team division is one thing, but when your women's division is getting piss poor, lackluster situations, and they don't get utilized or seen respectfully, who do we blame? We can't blame Triple H because he's the creative process behind all this, but it falls on Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro, the two big guys that's overseeing and sabotaging most of WWE's product. I mean, we can't sit up here and not consider or criticize what's going on here because everything is through a microscopic lens that can be seen with two eyes. If you watch the product enough, you see the downhill spiral on everything TKO is doing. You are pretty much watering down a lot of individuals that should be respected, should be valued, should be utilized. But if you're not willing to utilize them, why are you bringing them onto the show in the first place?
You know, you hit a good topic that I'm going to bring up that somebody just commented. Sumo Johnson just said TKO can't even listen to the lower class fans. To them, we're just nobodies.
That's a big fact. That is a big fact. And it shows on a constant basis how disrespectful they can be to the lower class fan base. Even the hardcore fan base feels the exact same situation. We don't get no treatment at all in the long-term booking of matches. And that long-term booking is what should be the see-all, be-all of professional wrestling. But if we're not getting long-term booking, then it's literally not being seen respectfully. So I implore y'all, watch the product enough, and then you can have an overall understanding of what's going on. I mean, even though I'll give NXT the respect it deserves, but really, is NXT really that good? Or is it just a watered down product being done just to let TKO see the younger talent on that roster succeed for the main roster? Because there should be no way you should be calling up the guys and girls you're calling up now to the main roster if they have not produced anything on NXT. Names like, I'll give Sol Ruka her respect. She deserves it. But come on now. Fatal Influence. What have they proved to be main roster worthy? What does Ricky Starks prove to be main roster worthy? I mean, come on. Trick Williams, I mean, I understand he's proved his worth, don't get me wrong. But what has he really proved to be main roster worthy? Right? When are you going to utilize guys like Carmelo Hayes to be effective? Why are we seeing the same lackluster situational matches and you're doing repetitive stuff to think that that's entertaining? Let's keep it a buck. You're hurting not only your product, but you're hurting the hardcore fan base that know you can do better. I mean, that's about all I can say right now, because there's a lot more that I'm doing research on to see what's going on behind the scenes. And I mean, if y'all really want to know the 4411, check out a guy by the name of JD from NY206. He has been hitting on all cylinders of professional wrestling, and yet fans have been neglecting or disrespecting this man for quite some time right now. And now definitely just want to give my credit and most of my information on where I got it from him, because if we're not giving credit to the guys that's bringing it out, what's the point of us doing wrestling podcasts?
Yep, I definitely agree with that. I mean, Thea Hale, she brought this good thing up, and I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to bring this video up. And, I love Thea Hale and what she's done for, let me pull this video up, but continue. And then when.
So, yeah. Let's say this, for example, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, or don't get this confused, ladies and gentlemen, and people that's listening in the chat. I am a diehard wrestling fan through thick and thin. Don't get me wrong, but it comes down to a time where we as wrestling fans have to stand up for the product we deserve. Not to mention the overall aspect of what wrestling brought to us. If we're not seeing certain people succeed and getting the attention that they deserve, get on these social media sites. Start calling them out where you see them.
Okay, right here's the video, DJ, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want everybody to listen to this video. What Thea Hale said, because she was right on point with this, with the wrestling fans and the toxicity. So I'm gonna maximize this and let you play. So listen closely.
Touch on the subject for a long time now, and I just haven't felt like I should. And now my opinion's changed. I'm a 22-year-old girl. Think about that for a second. I wouldn't have even graduated college if I moved away in the middle of high school to pursue my dream, because I valued that over comfortability. And most people could never have fathomed to do that. And every day to look at my Twitter timeline or look at social media and see negative comments about me as a human being is disgusting. I have worked my ass off for 5 years for the biggest moment of my career. And you all take it as a joke. You act like I'm the worst human being in the world for my 1 ounce of success that I finally had. It sucks. I don't think you understand every day that I wake up happy, sad, miserable. I don't care. I put professional wrestling above everything. And for 5 years, I have valued this industry to such an extent, and I valued others' opinions. And it is exhausting. I love this more than anything. But what I don't love is to constantly be torn down by other people, by other human beings. At the end of the day, I am a person. I am a 22-year-old girl who is getting to live my dreams. And for some reason, that's wrong. And for some reason, you guys decide that you want to go hate on somebody else because you're not happy with yourself. You feel the need to tear somebody else down to build yourself up. Are you serious? I don't understand it. I don't understand the level of hate in professional wrestling today. And for just 1 second, I would love for you guys to internally think, would you like for somebody to say this about me? Think about that. So please, take an extra 10 seconds before you put something up on social media. Please. And remember that the person on the other end of it is also a human being. So I don't know what to tell you. Happy Sunday. Go to church.
That right there hit a lot of points about Thea Hill. She said, go to church. And she said that before you type on social media, make sure you understand that there is a human being on the other side. I personally have to agree with what Thea Hill said. I love her to death. She spoke her mind, and she spoke about the toxicity in professional wrestling. That's the reason why I love Thea Hill. She spoke about how fans are toxic, and I got to give her a hand for that. Like,
I mean, kudos to what she said there, because that definitely speaks volumes in so many ways, because I can see it from a standpoint, and I look at social media all the time and see everybody's comments under these sections, and they really do these things on a constant basis. Yet some fans are appreciative of what people do. I'm not saying that to those, but to the ones that do this, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you're a piece of shit for the things you do in this wrestling community. I don't even consider y'all real wrestling fans, for that matter. Y'all just like to watch the product, to hate and criticize every little fucking thing that goes on. And let's be real. If that's the case, you don't need to be a wrestling fan. You don't need to do a podcast. Go back to doing what you normally do, is watching shows that you can criticize and have your point of view on. Don't do this with wrestling. Some of us fans are die hard and love what these wrestlers do for everyday living.
Here's the thing, and this is another quote that I'm going to quote off of Thea Hill that I much respect that she said. She said, and quoted, tear somebody else down to build themselves up. She's suggesting that toxicity often stems personal unhappiness. So you're unhappy with yourself because somebody else is being successful, and you can't stand the fact that somebody else is successful than you, and you have to go bash with your negativity and toxicity because somebody's better than you or somebody's doing something better than you. That's the same thing for the eFed world. I'm going to speak on that matter. My hands go approval for Thea Hill, what she said. You got my back, girl, on that. Speak your mind, girl.
That's all facts. And I mean, and it shows on a constant basis how low somebody can actually be to make everything go the way in their favor. Let's keep it a buck here. If you can't respect the business, then why are you in it?
Yep.
If you can't respect the car community, why are you in it? If you are an owner and you can't value these things, why are you doing it? Because some of you people that's in the car community and you wrestling fans, some of you don't deserve to be here. And that's just wholehearted facts. Reevaluate yourself before you think about what other people are doing.
I mean, here's the thing that I'm going to say in general, you know, and Thea Hill touched on a lot of this just by what she said. And it goes back to what she said and quoted. She said, I don't understand the level of hate professional wrestling today. Please remember that the person on the other end is also a human being. So in other words, before you type anything, before you try, you know, even these fake accounts that we see, before you even do something like that, think about what you're doing. Because I don't care if this is an eFed, I don't care if this is a wrestling business. If you're going to accuse somebody of doing something, and especially when you don't have proof, and when, you know, somebody else has proof and you lie about it and you try to get others to believe your side of the story rather than believing the truth, you're what we categorize as toxic, as what the hell. You're not building anybody. You're tearing everybody down and not building somebody up. In other words, you hate when somebody builds their self up, but you love to tear them down. And I agree with 100% what she's saying. I mean, she's pretty much hit the nail right on the coffin with, you know, this quote, because it's the truest quote of them all. I mean, what better star, you know, I'd hate to see TKO get rid of her, because she is, I believe that girl's got a good heart on her, because what she said and spoke out on the bullshit of the pro wrestling fans that are toxic, that are just, you know, doing all this stupid shit just to try to tear somebody down because over their jealousy and hate because somebody's successful than them. And that's, to me, that's bullshit. You know, like, get real with yourself. Quit being a little pansy wannabe just because somebody's doing better than you, and you get butthurt and you get mad and you want to throw your attention tantrum like a little kid because you can't get a candy because your mama won't buy it at the candy store. Grow up and realize the world don't revolve around you. That's fact.
Funny thing is, that message can be applied in the car community as well. Some of you individuals need to relax and take notes.
I mean, it's the God's honest truth. There's a reason why that we call this the No Ring, No Rules podcast. Straight up honesty, brutality. That's something that some people can't handle. Even the haters today, they can't handle it. But getting back on the topic now, because I spent a little bit more talking about the Thea Hill thing. We're going to get back on the topic of TKO's top 15 downfalls, why WWE is going to be killed by TKO, and pretty much WWE is going to be like WCW. One of those reasons is prioritizing profit over storylines. In the late 90s, WCW became a corporate ATM for Time Warner. Simply, TKO's primary focus is maximizing shareholder value. Critics argue when a company cares more about quarterly earnings cause than creative payoffs, the product becomes sterile and formatic. This is where DJ hit on a good point about they care about more money than they do their own storylines. They care about saving money than paying a wrestler that knows a little bit more about the business and knows what they're doing. You know, you take a look at all these wrestlers that they, you know, released. Aleister Black, Selena Vega, Motor City Machine Guns. the White Six. All of those should have been stayed in WWE. Yeah, even though that, you thought you didn't have creative processing and do what was necessarily for your creative, you got to think about this. Even though that you didn't have creative storylines, you should have went back to the office of your creative team and say, look, how can we keep these on the roster? You should have fought for them instead of just throwing them out the door like they was nothing. That's why a lot of fans are buzzing on Twitter right now over social media, because WWE, they don't fight for their wrestlers. They don't fight for the people that's about ready to be put on the chopping block over the releases. They ain't fighting for nobody because they don't care. They only care about the money instead of caring about the creative payoffs. I mean, that's top one reason why TKO era could lead to a WCW style decline. I mean, that's the God's honest truth. And, personally to me, if you're going to care about the money, yes, the money, you're going to need money to pay for the arenas and all that. I understand that. But at the same time, you got to care about the lower class people, because back then, the lower class people was your main TV focus. Yeah, they couldn't afford, back seats, like front row ringside tickets, but, they could afford, going seeing, up in the bleachers, which they call general admissions. So you got to think about that, just because you want to raise the payout, just because you want to maximize shareholder value, you got to think about it. Do you really want to move the pricing up? Because you got to think about these general admission seats. How are you going to fill those seats if you're raising them up $120 to $130 to $150 when nobody can pay that kind of money in the first place to get that seat? You got to think about that, TKO. You got to think about the money logic behind it, because you got to think about also, yeah, you probably have a lot of rich people that could buy those ringside things. People that, was billionaires and millionaires and all that, they could afford them. But people like us that's, middle class and lower class, we're looking at that like, what the fuck? Like, help us out. We're we are the loyal ones here in this category. Why are you ripping us off when, you need to be ripping off these, higher priced seats down below that you need to really stick it to the higher class people over instead of sticking it to the middle class and lower class? That's what we're trying to say here. And DJ also made a good topic on this too. And this is the top two: picking out the hardcore fan base. TKO president Mark Shapiro has openly stated that Vince McMahon priced tickets for families, whereas TKO wants to maximize the opportunity, skyrocketing ticket prices for events like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, risk alternating the loyal working class fans who built the industry, leaving behind a corporate crowd that doesn't provide the same energy. That's where I go back to what I was saying. You chose to screw the people that built WWE what it is today, and it's the working class fans who built the industry. You decided to push them away for the corporate crowd that don't even care about wrestling. They just want to screw it out for somebody else. I mean, come on, work out a deal, work something, because eventually, you get to that point as a roller coaster, and you get to the top, and the old saying goes, what comes up must come down. So in other words, just because you're doing good and think you're making that money may just slope down, and then you're taking that roller coaster all the way down to Leeds, WWE shut down, maybe UFC shut down, maybe TKO no longer in business. You got to think of it business strategic here is what I'm trying to do. And the top three, the third one I'm going to get into is the celebrity main event problem. WCW famously put the world title on David Arquette and featured Dennis Rodman, which was a Hall of Famer that deserved his flowers. Congratulations for finally doing something right in the Hall of Fame. Under TKO, celebrity environment like Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, and outside influence has moved from special attraction to roster mainstay. this can devalue full-time wrestlers who grind all year. And this is true. You are, just because these celebrities are TV artists, and don't get me wrong about this, they deserve their push as well. I'm not saying that they should be pushed out. I'm saying that they literally need to sometimes put a back seat on them. Like, I'm being straight up honest. They need, these wrestlers that work all year and put their grind in over somebody that came in from a movie film that done nothing for the business. Yeah, he may be a big movie star, but don't get me wrong, he's done, movies and, done that. I'm not saying like The Rock. Yeah, The Rock's been in WWE. He knows what he's doing. He deserves to have that special attraction. But I'm saying like people like
like your LA Knights, your
not really LA Knights, DJ. That's where I'm going to cut you off. Like your, for example, like if Sylvester Stallone decided to come and be a part of WWE and you want to put the world title on him. I get the fact that you want to make Sylvester Stallone a champion, but you're not really thinking about the wrestlers who's grind all year. That's, went from curtain jerkers, which is opening matches, to mid-carders to main event players. Gunther, even though some people may not like him, you got to think at this strategy too. Gunther is the most hated because not only he's retired John Cena, but he's also retired Goldberg. And I feel like TKO could have pushed Gunther a little bit more than what he was pushed. I think personally that Gunther really don't need to be in the world title picture. He needs to be in like a big, like DJ has said it in quote, like a long-term story booking with one of the, newer guys. You take, Logan Paul, that would have been a good match. Could you imagine, Gunther versus Logan Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Or Gunther.
All I'm going to say is this. Think about it, TKO, and understand. Long-term booking can get you way further than your typical protocol you have now by putting a celebrity at the forefront of the hardcore fan base. Because us hardcore fan base, we like to see long-term booking, storytelling, surprises. This is what gets your hardcore fan base in the long run. You don't get your hardcore fan base based off of what you're doing now, just putting titles on people and thinking that it's going to be all, Humpty Dory, goody two shoes. I mean, look at the fact of what happened. The moment you saw on SmackDown when they revealed Randy Orton as the Randy Orton's little phone call person to be Pat McAfee, that's where you should have changed the whole dialogue of that storyline.
Well,
that match would have been way better at WrestleMania if Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll was not involved.
Well, when Randy Orton, going back to that, you brought up a good thing on that, DJ. When Randy Orton had that video call or that phone call with Pat McAfee, they should have had it with either Ric Flair, maybe even, the tag team that was inducted in the Hall of Fame, Demolition, Axe or Smash. That would have been a good manager.
Or it could have been the guy that everybody was expecting to be, The Rock.
Well, I don't see it being The Rock because it would not make sense because Randy Orton is not bloodlined through The Rock. That's what they are pushing. If it was Zilla Fatu, I can understand why The Rock would be in his corner, but you got to think of it bloodline segment that putting Rock in Randy's corner wouldn't make sense. Now, I could tell you another wrestler who would love to be in Randy Orton's corner if they would actually done it at WrestleMania, and he was the host, John Cena, Randy Orton's longtime rivalry in the business. That would have been another good one. But you got to think also, look at the past of Randy Orton, who he took on the ring. You could have had The Undertaker being in his corner at WrestleMania, the man that went 21-1 at WrestleMania. You could have had The Game, Triple H being in his corner, as well as Stephanie McMahon, to bring back a authority figure like they did back, when they chose Seth Rollins as this sellout is what they call it. But the main focus is when I'm getting on the creative part, it's called homogenization. So in other words, WCW lost its identity when the corporate suits began meddling with the gritty product. Now, as WWE integrates further with UFC, there is a fear with the theatrical magic of wrestling is being replaced by standardized sports like presentation that strips away the unique character fans love. So let me explain that better for you guys to understand here on this podcast. So, I mean, I agree with you, J-Max. Bob Orton Jr., a.k.a. Ace, that would have been another good one. Huge shout-out to J-Max, by the way. But here's the thing that I'm saying. When WWE and UFC is working together, it don't really bring a lot of fans is looking at it like you want WWE to be like UFC, where it's, take away the fake. And here's where it becomes a problem. You literally powerbomb somebody in real life, it's going to hurt them. I mean, you can't really pick somebody up and powerbomb them. I mean, that's just part of the business. You can't do that because you're putting people's health in danger. You're not putting the safety that Vince created the whole time he made this industry by his father, in his genealogy down from that. Take a look example by this. Okay. And this is where I'm going to bring up, and I'm going to bring this up, and DJ, you're probably going to say, oh shit, you're not going to bring it up here. Wrestling at its finally, I'm gonna bring up a thing that you guys are gonna love. So we're gonna go back to the old school days of wrestling, and shout out to the Dark Side of the Ring for this, because I'm gonna bring up a good segment here that I think needs to be discussed also here on the No Rings, No Rules podcast, because without this segment here, and all the general thing here that I'm about to present to you guys, this match between New Jack and Vince Grimes. Okay, many of you guys know New Jack from ECW and a little bit of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history lesson on New Jack. Okay, Vince Grimes and New Jack, they didn't really seem eye to eye. It was pretty much like a conflict. I'm guessing they had personal backstage heat that, one of them didn't like the other one or something happened. But I'm going to play this video and want you guys to watch exactly what New Jack said. And it'll give a full documentary, especially one of my favorites that retired, Sandman, the man that swung a damn kendo stick in Appalachian Championship Wrestling. So I'm going to let you guys watch this, and I'm going to go to the full symbolization here. But this is actually real what happened between New Jack and Vince Grimes, so I hope you guys pay attention as we roll the footage.
A year after the horrific fall that cracked open his skull, New Jack agrees to a rematch with Vic Grimes with even higher stakes. What Grimes doesn't know is that New Jack is out for revenge.
Before the match, I went to a pawn shop and bought a stun gun.
Yeah, I was there when New Jack, and he told me he was going to do it before it happened too. So,
what did he want to have happen?
He told me he was going to tase him
in the locker room. He came up to me. I was ready to kill him. He said, "I'm sorry." I said, "You didn't even call me." I said, "Home for almost a year. You didn't even call me to see how I was doing."
This is the highest elevation of any match in the history of our sport.
Well, I mean, I was high. You know what I mean? I was high, so I just tased him. I tased the shit out of him. He's like, Jack, I can't feel my legs. I said, you ain't gonna need them. Bums away.
Oh, shoot.
Hold on. I gotta go back to that. Hold on. This is my goal exactly to all my haters. All my haters that don't like me, I'm gonna pull a New Jack on you. There's a reason why that I threw you off the scaffold. And New Jack, I'll let you take it from there.
Vic was a foot from missing the ring completely, which would have killed him. I wanted him to hit the floor. I just didn't throw him hard enough. I was trying to throw his ass to the floor. So we don't piss Jack off, because a fight's never over until Jack says it's over.
I can't believe he didn't like die.
It's the luck of fools that this guy was not at least paralyzed. And I don't think Jack was particularly broken up about it.
I climbed down off of the gavel. I went up to him. When he was laying in the ring, I told him, I said, now we even.
Big Grimes is going to need medical attention.
Could you have got him for attempted murder? I don't know. I mean, I think throwing some off a scaffolding kind of is right on that line.
This dude like threw him off the scaffold. And like New Jack is one of my favorites. Don't get me wrong. New Jack is one of my favorites.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Most definitely. Because anybody that says, oh, you know, Vince Grimes was screaming at New Jack, and New Jack was like, oh,
I mean, what the hell? The man literally has the song from Ice Cube called Natural Born Killer. What man you know in wrestling today comes out to a song called Natural Born Killer?
I mean, let's get back on topic here. With New Jack actually doing that, like, I guess you could say you could put yourself in Vince Grimes' scenario, taking that fall and hitting those ring ropes. I would have to say I would hate to have to be in Vince Grimes' scenario, because the way he fell, like, he had to have some nerve damage the way he fell. You got to go back and look at that video, because he hit the ring ropes pretty hard, broke a little bit of the tables with it. So I'm just going to say this, like, I think in all personality, like, those two they had heat, but it was like more personal than ever. But going back on topic here on the No Rings, No Rules podcast, I was using that for an example. We're going to get back to the downfall here over why I think WWE, of course, is going to be like WCW. And the fifth one is the oversaturation of content. WWE killed itself by adding too many shows. Thunder, which was a good show, by the way. No disrespect to that show. Between Raw on Netflix, SmackDown on USA, NXT on CW, and a monthly PLE schedule, there is so much WWE content that must-see TV is becoming check the highlights later TV. So in other words, it's pretty much like they don't even, like, for example, they're not even paying for a pay-per-view. They check pay-per-view after when it was done. And that's pretty smart, because you're saving money as a fan. If that makes sense. And another thing that's really getting them is the aggressive ads. From prime hydration logo on the ring canvas to constant products placement during matches, the TKO product often feels like a 3-hour commercial. WCW was criticized for the similar product segments like the infamous Chucky crossover that broke the fourth Raw and ruined immersion. And then the reliance on old guard and part-timers. WCW's biggest sin was falling to built new stars relying on Hulk Hogan and Savage, while WWE was improving here. The frequency emergency calls for the legends for the big shows, The Rock, John Cena, etc., suggests that TKO still views the current roster as secondary to nostalgia. Now, lack of wrestling people at the top is, you know, the top 8 here. WCW's downfall accelerated when non-wrestling executives took control. When Triple H leads creative, the ultimate bosses at TKO are Ariel Inyemenia and Mark Shapiro, business moguls who had viewed wrestling as content rather than the unique art form. This is where it becomes a problem when you have people that don't know the wrestling business and they take higher roles of leadership that these two are doing in TKO. And this is why I say this. Even J Max can agree with me in the chat. The reason why that WWE is failing as a management business is because they're putting people that don't know the backstage role on what they're doing. And what I mean by that, and I'm trying to clarify that a little bit more better, is they don't know the history of wrestling. They've never been in the ring. They've never even been a worker. They've never been they've never done the business as some people has done, like Triple H, Rock, John Cena, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. You know, you take all those guys that's done it, they could be a good replacement to TKO because they've done the business and they know how to run a successful character, storyline, whatever the case may be. But these two people from TKO, they just business guys. They don't know nothing about the wrestling product in general. It's more to them the money than it is
like Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro are literally kiss-ass fools who really think that they can generate and value the business, but doesn't even know a single stitch of wrestling or what a storyline could be in wrestling. Let's keep it honest here, because I feel like the product has gone stale ever since TKO had it. And let's not even get me started on the damn fact of Saudi Arabia pay-per-views. Because that's even killing the business.
Now, getting back on topic here, I hope you guys are enjoying this. You know, going back to what DJ said about the stales of this, it goes back to stakes. And, you know, the biggest problem, the top 9 biggest problem is the high stakes legal and corporate scandals. WCW was plagued by international lawsuits and backstage politics. These ongoing legal fallout surrounding Vince McMahon and TKO executive handling of those scandals create a dark cloud that can distract management and spook sponsors long term. When you have these scandals out, especially these wrestlers or even management that's had these scandals, and they come out to fans and also, you know, people that's, you know, sports broadcasters, what we call them, it becomes an issue because it really hurts them in the long run to get sponsors. So in other words, that's the main goal of anything you do, whether you're a sports broadcaster, a wrestler, or even, you know, a promoter in the wrestling business. You want your sponsors. Your sponsors are what's going to help you, basically. And by TKO doing what they done, it's like they eliminated every possibility of getting sponsors long term. It's like a, you know, that's why they have so many fucking ads for WrestleMania, which, you know, when I watch WrestleMania, they didn't do more ads. It was more promo video packages, and, you know, they was building up, hyping up matches, you know, including for the world title, tag team title, whatever the case may be, Money in the Bank, whatever. You know, they need to bring them back. That's what made WrestleMania, you know, made me watch as a kid. I was watching, you know, WrestleMania 21, John Cena and JBL segment, WWE title, the biggest WWE title match in the history of WWE, I think, in that era. But you get on to the Netflix gamble. Here's another thing that's really, I think that WWE is literally, how do I say this? Literally hurting themselves by moving the Monday Night Raw episodes to Netflix. And pretty much
not even just the Monday Night Raw episodes, the whole pay-per-view and back catalog in general.
Pretty much. And, you know, the reason why that I say this is because moving Raw or any pay-per-view to a streaming-only platform is a massive risk. If the transition doesn't bring over the casual linear TV audience, WWE could find itself invisible to the general public, much how WCW lost its reach when it moved to the less viewed time slots. I mean, they are making a big gamble. That's why I call it the Netflix gamble. They are putting so confident in Netflix. And don't get me wrong, Netflix is a good thing to watch TV shows. But for a wrestling company as big as WWE, I don't really think that's the best move. I think they should have,
stayed where they're at, stayed on USA Network.
Well, here's what I was going to say. I think they should have stayed at, I agree with you on that. They should have stayed at USA Network, but they also should have looked at the different TV channels that they could possibly be on. You know, you got USA, you got CW Network.
Which they have, they got NXT on.
Yeah, you got the Sci-Fi, which was on, you know, ECW had that before they shut down. It was a watered-down version, but still, you know, you got all these TV channels that they could have maxed out from. Personally, I think, you know, the ESPN pay-per-view thing, I don't really think it's working out for me. Because ESPN is more like basketball, football,
golf, tennis, you name it,
bowling, all that, and a little bit of UFC. But far as like the whole agreement and whole alignment with the ESPN, I think they should have moved the pay-per-views to like television, to like cable. If they couldn't do it to cable, what they should have done is made a website on WWE that had WWE pay-per-views only, you know, and make payments, you know, kind of like what they did with the WWE Network, but do it to where you make affordable prices not only for the lower class, but also everybody. Don't just, you know, make it to where only the higher class people can pay for it, and these newer people are, you know, missing out on the pay-per-view, which is hurting the viewership. You know, you want to have that viewership up to where people's watching, to where audience can actually watch it worldwide, internationally, wherever the case may be, because that is the biggest downfall that I'm hearing about and, you know, researching on is WWE. That's the reason why they moved Raw over from USA to Netflix, because of the views. So and you know, when you're on a TV contract, you got to keep up with what that contract says. You got to have the views that TV show or channel wants. If not, it can create major problems and differences between you and the contractor that's hanging out those things. So another thing to look at. And back to the international thing, here's where I get on that topic too. International, this is the top 11. International sports washing controversies. The heavy reliance on massive payouts from Saudi Arabia and other national governments minors WCW's pursuit of easy money over organic growth. These deals provide short-term cash, but alternate Western audiences and creating PR nightmares. That's true. That is true there. And I tell you why, you know, for this year's WrestleMania, they're making it easy money. But easy money is not going to be the best money, because I'll tell you why. Eventually, people's not going to even tune in. Eventually, people are going to invest their time in watching the product. And over time, there goes your growth. There goes the hurt that it's hurting the business, because people's not tuning in to, you know, for example, WrestleMania next year for Saudi. A lot of people's not going to watch it because people are saying, you know what, since he moved to Saudi, why should I watch it? Why should I watch it? Because, you know, Vegas, they pretty much did a shitty show. Why should I tune into next year's? This is where it can create controversies and also can disrupt the growth of the product and the viewership over WWE. This is where it creates a lot of, how do I say this in context here? This is where it can create a lot of
controversy.
Not really controversy. This can create a lot of sponsorships and also TV deals for WWE. So it's like, really, you really want to push people that don't really give two shits about the company, but you want to listen to somebody that's never been a wrestler or never been in the business and never done anything and you want to listen to higher ups that pretty much just only care about the money deal. Like, it don't make sense. Yeah, like I said before, the money is a good thing because it helps you pay for your arenas, venues, and all that stuff. But the same time, if you don't have money, if you don't have the audience or the viewers, especially the audience that are attending real live television events such as Raw, SmackDown, NXT, how are you going to pay for those PLE arenas if you don't create the money for that?
Fact.
That's the true statement that I'm trying to get at. You cannot book a PLE show if you don't have the audience and seats. Like, I think it was either Al Snow or maybe it was Sting. I was watching one of their videos, and it says, if you can't put those people in the seats, you're in the wrong business. And that's the truth. If you can't put people in those seats and do what exactly you need to do, you're in the wrong business. You need to go somewhere else. That means, if you're, the owner, promoter, wrestler, whatever the case may be, you can't do it, you need to go. That's the truth about that. Now we get on the top 12, monopolistic stagnation. Without a WCW Night War level of competition to keep them sharp, WWE can become complacent. WCW failed because they stopped innovating once they were on top. Critics argue TKO is currently in a victory lap phase that ignores the need for evolution. That is true. TKO is pretty much, for example, they are pretty much telling Triple H that, like they did at WrestleMania with the whole Stephanie Valkyrie and Liv Morgan match, they screwed that up. I think they could have told a better story than what they told at WrestleMania. Same thing with the Brock and Oba match. Same thing with the Cody and Orton match. Same thing with the Seth and CM Punk. Not Seth and CM Punk, but Roman and CM Punk. Same thing with the women's tag team titles. Same thing with the United States titles. Same thing with the Intercontinental title. All the matches could have been a little bit better with storylines. But TKO had to literally grab Triple H by the throat and tell him, look, we do this, you worry about the mid-card. And that's where it's hurting the product because they are taking over something they don't have no history or no
what to do.
Pretty much what DJ is trying to say, and I'm trying to say it in better terms here. They don't have wrestling knowledge of what they're doing is what he's trying to clarify here.
And with no wrestling knowledge, what makes you think you're fit for the business?
Now, going back to this is where it hurts. DJ actually put a point on this, and the top 13 reason is going to cut everything in order. TKO is known for high roster turnover and budget cuts, is a corporate word for layoffs. Constant roster cuts to balance the books destroys fan investment. If fans think their favorite wrestler might be fired next Thursday, they stop caring about storylines. Just like they did with Aleister Black, Selena Vega, Motor City Machine Guns, and the White Six. Same process. They didn't have anything for him. They just said, okay, we're just going to release you. Thank you for your endeavors from WWE, and, hope everything is good on your part, basically. And, this is where it can, fans that, are close to them and stick to them are going to look at this like, why did they get released? They're going to basically stop caring about the product and storylines and going over to where their favorite wrestler is. AEW might be that competition that WWE does not like. I know WWE and AEW is butting heads right now. This is like a WWE and WCW segment.
It's almost feeling like the Monday Night Wars is coming back to the forefront before our very eyes. Just only different.
Yep, pretty much. And here's the thing. The top 14 reason is the death of the family culture. WWE was a family business for 70 years. TKO is a cold global disease that is pretty much touching the locker room and pretty much killing moral issues similar to the toxic backstage environment that tore down WCW apart. So basically, they're trying to kill everything that what we love because they're power hungry because they're trying to get out of debt with UFC. So they're trying to use this as a backup plan to get them covered.
Or if I could put it in better terms, CJ, they're using WWE as a crutch to help WCW, to help UFC.
Pretty much. And then, the last part of this is discard for wrestling history. Like I said, they've not have knowledge about wrestling history, and this could hurt them in the long run owning WWE, even though that they have history over UFC and no history about that. When it comes to WWE, it's a different story. You got to know your wrestling history. You got to know your first wrestlers to your first world champions to your first tag team champions, your first intercontinental champions, first United States champions. The list goes on and on and on about the history of wrestling. So they got to know this. So it says WCW often ignores its continuity for a quick fix rating. Fans have noticed TKO era WWE sometimes prioritize viral moments or brand activations over long-term story logic, which can eventually lead to burnout audience that simply stops watching. And when you
I want you to do me a favor, CJ, and I want you to pull this up for the people that need to hear this.
All right.
There is a clip that is out there by Killer Kross that he did at the WrestleMania. And this clip holds so much volume, and he exposed the narrative of TKO as a whole in this clip. And if you could pull that up one time, I guarantee you the fans will understand when they hear Killer Kross say what he said in that clip.
So was this 11 months ago?
Yes, if it's the clip that he's sitting with the bald head dude that hosts, I forgot his name, but it was a short promo that him and Scarlett was there, and they said this. I would really, if I see the video, I'll know it. Because this video needs to be put in forefront right now, because I feel like Killer Kross exposed TKO as a whole when he did this, and this is why they ultimately let him go. And I respect him for what he did for this clip. And you wonder why every time the fans came out as a whole, they said, "We want Kross. We want Kross." Nobody in the business was doing what Killer Kross was doing. He was exposing why everybody that TKO put on the forefront against him, he basically exposed them.
So is this it?
Let me see. I'll know the video when I see it.
Is that it? Or am I going to the wrong video?
Yes. That is the wrong one. It's the one that he did the interview with. It's an interview that he did with and it was like a podcast interview that he did with Scarlett. And trust me when I say this, CJ, when you hear this, it's going to open up your eyes to why TKO is what it is.
Is this the dude?
Let me see.
I want to make sure that this is the dude before I pull it up. Just doing the same crap. Okay, now.
Like, That's Chris Van Lett. Don't get me wrong. Hold on. I'll pull up the video, then just invite me. Then I'll come back in. I'll send you the link to the video.
So just send me the video and I can pull it up because I can't find it on here. So waiting until DJ gets back in here to pull the video up. But this has been a good podcast so far. So when DJ sends me the thing here. So if you guys got any questions or any topics you guys want to discuss, you guys, put it in the bottom of the chat here in our live stream. Okay, we got.
That's the video.
Okay, we got the podcasters. I'm going to pull this up. I hope you guys are ready for this podcast because I pretty much pulled it up.
Listen carefully to what Killer Cross said in this video. He exposed the whole narrative of TKO's management as a whole.
Okay, we're getting ready to play the footage.
Let's talk about how awesome it is that Logan Paul just won. And let's talk about, Sam, let's talk about what Logan Paul represents. The shortcut. Feels so good to be here. Feels so good to be in the business. Thinking about all of the funerals that I wasn't able to attend for the last 11 years in this business, all the holidays I missed. I could have just started a YouTube channel, could have just jumped in there with AJ Styles. Feels really good, right? It's awesome. It's really good.
Do you guys know we have 25 years combined experience, and what are we doing on Mania?
Well, they know because they're normal human beings, and they actually love professional wrestling. But apparently that doesn't mean shit anymore. That doesn't mean shit. All I asked Alan to do was for once to not think about just himself. Think about everybody in the back and think about the professional wrestling fans. That's all I wanted him to do. Sometimes to do the right thing, you have to do the wrong thing. But he's a narcissist, and he had to do it his way. Hey, Alan, how many more WrestleManias do you have in your system? Probably, I don't know, one. Maybe this is the last one, and you just pissed that away. For what? For what? For your way? Thanks a lot, bud. I really appreciate it. You want to know what the best advice I ever got? It was from Bill Goldberg. 2021, back when I was in the Twilight Zone, you know what I mean? I'm wrestling for gasoline. It was awesome. Let me tell you all about it. Bill goes, hey, Cross, you know what? You remind me a lot of me. I go, I think we have different styles, Bill, but I really appreciate that. Do you have any advice for me? He goes, you know what? You just got to be a good soldier. A good soldier is what he said. So I decided to be a good soldier. You know what happened? They released me. And then I come back. You know what? Being a good soldier gets you, everybody here, just so in case you're wondering, you want the back scoop here. Being a good soldier gets your times cut. Being a good soldier means that people come up to you and say, hey, you got any great ideas? Yeah, here it is from Scarlet. No. That's a little too great. We're looking just for good ideas. That's for those guys over there. That's what being a good soldier is, okay? Being a good soldier is coming to your hometown where you cut your teeth, we got started, and not being on the card. It's all about viral moments now. That's what it's all about, viral moments. Well, Guy, everybody's been telling me that I got to become undeniable. And as soon as it happens, they ignore it and they shut it down. I never asked to wrestle Randy. I never asked. That happened organically, and you ignored it for a viral moment. And good on Joe. Nothing against him. But you ignored it. And the crowd told you exactly how they felt about me on SmackDown when I was eliminated. And you ignored it. Become undeniable. My ass. My ass. You want a viral moment? On behalf of all of the true fans of professional wrestling, Guy with the suit and tie in the truck, go fuck yourself. That's from Killer Cross. No.
You just heard everything Cross said. And do you think he was treated respectfully after that moment? No, he wasn't. He was brought back twice. And this is the things that people like that get.
I mean, you know, Kevin Impact has a lot of good theories about TKO, and I want to give Kevin Impact a huge shout out here on the podcast. You know, bringing back the Bellas is pretty much what killed the product. You know, like they had her time, they should have been released and not brought back. You know, they should have brought some younger girls, you know, younger females to, you know, make stars out of.
Right.
And, you know, no disrespect when I say this, Paige, I love her, you know, but I don't think this was the right time to bring her back, especially put her in storylines with the Bellas. I think that they should have, you know, went back to their creative team and said, listen, you know, if we're going to bring Paige back, we need to do it in a better term instead of just putting her with the Bellas. Because to me, I mean, the Bellas are not contributing anything to the business. You know, you got a lot of stars that I personally think, you know, some of them's in TNA right now. OBD. She would have been a great WWE star. Tessa Blanchard, another good, you know, wrestler in the business that I personally think that if she had a shot at the WWE, she would have done a great job. But you got to,
especially with her rich family history.
Exactly. And here's the reason why I say Tessa Blanchard. Okay. If TKO wasn't over WWE, I guarantee you she would sign the contract. But as long as TKO is over the strings and you know, orchestrating these puppets, I don't really think that Tessa's going to sign.
And this is another thing that I'll bring to that forefront on why TKO and WWE and literally AEW is not taking that risk on Tessa Blanchard. Let's take you back for a minute here, in case anybody didn't remember. There was an incident that happened with Tessa Blanchard in TNA. She had the top tier championship, the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at the time, being the first female ever in TNA to hold the TNA Heavyweight Championship. Now, she was supposed to be in the segment that was supposed to be able to, that she was defending the title. She didn't show up to the event for the championship match, so they vacated the title, so on and so forth. But literally, they did this, and they made her a blacklisted name at the time to not, because of that incident. And I'm saying to myself, what could have really happened in that scenario to make them realize, to make them not bring her back into the company? After a long time, you brought her back in because you needed a fresh face from TNA to make an impact in the women's division. I mean, I understand Tessa is that face that can do that. But you had moments where she was supposed to either go to WWE or AEW, neither one of them took the gamble and got her. Or because you see controversy with a wrestler, you don't want to get said wrestler. And then another thing that kills the whole narrative of this scenario is that fans knew wrestlers by the name that they was that built them to the dance. WWE has this niche of switching a wrestler's name, and they want the redesign to be in their image. Like, if you got Tessa Blanchard now in WWE, she would be known by a different name in WWE. And this is why nobody can't really get with Asuka, because Asuka is known by what in Japan? Kana. So why are we switching the name? Like, you're killing your own product by not letting these wrestlers have the name that they were given when they started wrestling. Like, how many wrestlers' names have you switched in the whole time frame you've been doing wrestling. Just because they're not a product of WWE doesn't mean you switch the name. You know what I mean, CJ? You don't dictate how their story is supposed to be in your image if they already came with a story that the fans knew and recognized. So it's like, this is why I love that quote from Killer Cross and what he said after that WrestleMania. It held volumes because this is how you expose and this is how you get the attention of the establishment. You gotta be a take no prisoners person to get what the fuck you want in wrestling. You can't come in with the same mentality that you always have and then expect to see results and improvement. If you bled and work your ass off in this business, you should deserve everything you want and then some. But the only reason why we're not getting that is because, hey, this is WWE. This is the way we got to play ball. You either play by our rules or you really, or you're basically not going to be built at all. But thanks for the heads up, Mark, on that. And I mean, this is why I say WWE is losing its foundation, its structure, its overall integrity, because the WWE we knew was literally a take no prisoners approach. You let wrestlers be wrestlers. You let the wrestlers dictate the creative, but also Vince McMahon had a little say in the creative as well. Like the element of surprise is not even there anymore. All the fun ha-ha moments is gone now. It feels like wrestling is dying in WWE before our very eyes because TKO is not willing to let that fun entertainment factor be a thing. And wonder why this is the way it is, because if you look at it, what did TKO do in the first place? First, you got rid of Vince McMahon. You solely killed off Shane McMahon. You damn near made Stephanie leave before ever kicking her out officially. All you had was Triple H. Like, what was you gonna do with when three members of the McMahon family should have been a focal point in this whole narrative? If I was Vince, I would have sold the company to Shane and let Shane and Stephanie have full authority moving forward versus Mark Shapiro and Ari Emanuel in the first place. This is what you get. This is the product you get when you allow TKO to ruin the perfectly good thing that we know and love. TKO has ruined a lot of shit, and they are going to continue going down this road until they have it their way or nothing at all.
I mean, I'm gonna share this thing, and a huge shout out to Mark for this. You know, he's hit the nail right on the head here, and he said TKO already killed his happiness, and you know,
I agree, Mark. I agree completely.
To be honest, DJ, you know, it feels like not only his happiness, but all of the, you know, wrestling fans that love WWE. They killed all of our happiness.
It's like, here's the thing. If I could put it in terms like this, you stripped away the glory. You stripped away the foundation. You stripped away the fucking structure of what WWE meant to a lot of us. And we're never going to get that structure back as long as Ari Emanuel and Dickbag Shapiro is there.
Now,
and not to mention, the biggest culprit of them all is literally Dwayne Johnson you going by, or should I say the corporate fucking stooge, he's killing the narrative as well, being with these three, being with those two, and Dana White. So let's be totally honest. You can't have no fun now at all in WWE. The women's product ain't the same. The whole structure of each match ain't the same anymore. And then I found out word that, instead of us getting a 3-hour SmackDown, they're lowering SmackDown for 2 hours, and they ain't even saying the reason why they're lowering it down to 2 hours.
Now, getting on this topic here, and this is the final thoughts and viewer questions. If you guys stayed with us through the first part of the podcast, you would picked up on a lot of things we talked about. But if you now tuned in and noticed what we was talking about, you also can re-question it, and we try to, answer it the same thing we did. But here's what I'm trying to say. For the final thoughts and viewers' questions, what is it, to me, what do you guys think of, TKO as a leech company that is, killing the happiness of fans of WWE and also UFC? You guys can answer that in the chat, or you guys can, personally come in here and talk about it. We can give you an invite link so you could talk about it. But to me, TKO, to me, I'm just going to say it. It's sounded like that TKO is trying to pull WWE, and WWE is being a WCW. In other words, we're going to see the downfall of WWE. I could be wrong. So, like I said, don't hold me to it. But, with the way things are going, it's not looking good for WWE. But you guys got your, questions as we get ready to put this one in the books for the No Rings, No Rules. But before we move on to this topic here, I'm going to do a closing note. And then if you guys have your questions, I'll go back to the questions and answer them the best of my knowledge. But, the closing note as me as CJ Mondo, the line of questions served as the ultimate reality check for the audience by asking the comfortable question. Is pretty much whether TKO is just another scripted puppet master, or being forced to do this to WWE. The only thing I got to say about this is this, that I think that WWE needs to wake up, especially Triple H, especially Stephanie McMahon, especially, Vince. And they got, even if they have to put all their money together to try to buy it back, something has to give. They are killing the audience. And, Mark actually put a good thing here. I want to go back to this. He hit the nail right on the head here with TKO sucks LMO. They ruined WrestleMania. It's the truth. I mean, you had better storylines you could have went with.
Right.
You decided to take a cheap-ass, washed-down versions of your ideals and pretty much ruined what Vince created. And a lot of people is unhappy, including myself. But it's one of those things that you got to learn to live with. We can't force them to do what they don't want to do, but at the same time, they bought the company. It's their way of doing things. And they're, even though if we can say something, it doesn't mean that it's going to help. So that's what I'm going to put in my final thoughts for the closing. If DJ's got anything, he can. But if you guys also have questions, now's the time to fill that chat up.
Now, this is where I'll literally say this. Mark, you are 100% right. And I'll get to that moment when I know that they screwed up. let's take you back to last year's WrestleMania. Look at how they ruined that whole experience of WrestleMania 40. Fast forward to this WrestleMania. You killed the whole surprise factor and the match experience and the storylines that was built going into this WrestleMania. You involved celebrity that should not have been involved, but they want to say, oh, we welcome the appreciation of celebrities because this is their time to step into our business. Step into our business, you say. We don't step into their realm of music or whatever they do or acting unless needed. But at the end of the day, I digress because we don't know which wrestlers are born to be rappers. We don't know which wrestlers are born to be actors, whatever the case may be. It's cool. But here's my thing about this. That's the kicker part that kills me. TKO thinks that they know every in and out on how to be creative in wrestling. When what have you learned in wrestling that brought you to the dance? I mean, come on. Just because you are friends with Vince McMahon, Ari Emanuel, doesn't mean you know the product. Doesn't mean your team knows the product. Doesn't mean Rock's $7 team doesn't know the product. Because if we think about it, you have been sabotaging Triple H for quite some time since y'all took it over WWE. And it feels like it's only a matter of time before we lose Triple H. And if we lose Triple H, you lose a lot of fans watching the product.
I mean, here's another thing that Mark actually brought up a good point too about TKO. They ruined Cena's heel turn. They ruined not one.
And
I mean, he's hitting points here. I mean,
this is my thing about that, Mark. They ruined Cena's whole retirement tour as a whole. They ruined Cena's whole retirement run, not just to get buried by Gunther. Huh? If anybody they could have pulled, it should have been AJ Styles. It should have been somebody that was familiar. Like, hell, I would have gave it to Miz for crying out loud because he knows Cena and he been wanting that spot against Cena. But you had to do this tournament and have Gunther kill everybody. Hell, I wouldn't mind it if Cena faces Javon Evans for that final retirement match. Somebody other than Gunther would have been perfectly sufficed to do the job. If you would have gave it to Javon would have went on the bigger and better heights by being the man to say he beat Gunther. Or you can give it to another young talent and say let him be the one to say he beat Gunther. Anybody except for Gunther to have that moment was very disrespectful for Cena. And it basically was embarrassing because you made him tap out. And Cena has always had the moniker "Never Say Die."
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to their closing moments. And, you know, I want to thank DJ for his time and everybody else that made it a choice to be out here. But we are out the end of the run. I want to thank, DJ for showing up and helping me with the No Rings, No Rules podcast on the TKO incident, with what they pulling. And also
much appreciated, much respect there. And, before we close it down, like, comment, subscribe, share this out with a friend who loves wrestling and needs to understand the value of everything going on in the business today.
And as we close out, guys, I got one saying, what you gonna do when No Ring, No Rules podcast goes wild on you?
No ring, no rules. You already know the code. Stepping clean. Leave louder. No ring, no rules. We make our own way. No ring, no rules. Legend starts today. No ring, no rules. Watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules. We don't back down. Lights off, name on, pressure in the room. Cold eyes, sharp grin, big talk, sealed doom. We came built for it, heavy in the chest. Every line hits hard, every move say less. Hear that hush now, that's the room goes still. One breath, one spark, then we break the seal. No ring, no rules. We make our own way. Legend starts today. No ring, no rules. Watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules. We don't back down. No script, only nerve and skill. No leash, no chain, only what is real. From the first word out to the final roar. If you want a war, we give you more. No ring, no rules. We make our own way.